Hey everyone, it's Dan, your host here at Dan's Reviews, and today, wow, we're going to be doing our weekly review for Fear the Walking Dead. This is for Fear the Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 12, called Brothers Keepers. Oh my god, this episode was mind-blowing in my opinion. This episode was amazing. Just, wow. Really just unpredictable, very enjoyable episode. Wow. This episode is one of my favorites of the entire series. This is definitely, it's kind of an out of the blue kind of episode for Fear the Walking Dead. Like a lot of people say, it feels like a season finale. Which really, you can't argue with that. It does feel like a season finale. This episode was just amazing. So, major spoilers for this review this week. I've been saying that Fear the Walking Dead has been improving and that the episodes have been getting better and better. Well, definitely with this episode, yeah, that's definitely true. I can't believe what they did in this episode, and just the extent and everything like that. So, yeah, spoiler warning. This episode, so, okay, we'll go over it from beginning to end, but the first thing I just want to talk about, I want to talk about this, real quick. Let's just talk about the F-bomb, that Nick dropped in the episode. Like, seriously, wow. That was totally not expected by anybody. It kind of came out of nowhere. I'm not really sure why they put that in there, if that was a mistake, but I loved it. If it was on purpose, I loved it. And the reason why is because realistically, somebody would say that under the circumstances if they saw that, And that's why I enjoyed it. Not because it's the first time. No, because it was realistic, and I like when they do stuff like that. Whatever TV show you're watching. Realistic is always a big passion of mine. If it's very unrealistic of a TV show, it's very hard to enjoy for me. That's just something I always have had with television. But I gotta say, it was amazing. I can't believe I'm actually talking about this, but it was really awesome because it just, for them to go to that extent, and we don't know if it was on purpose. It may not even have been on purpose, but if it was an accident, that was a big mess up if it was. But I don't think it was. I think they actually did mean to put that in there. Which, the only thing, yes, it was realistic. I loved it. But the only thing now is that I'm kind of thinking about is that, well, if Nick said it, why can't Negan say it? Like, seriously. I'm just saying, but I liked it because it fit and it was realistic, because somebody would react like that under the circumstances. That's why I get mad sometimes when let's say, when our group is in a big situation that they can't get out of, they would be like, oh, they wouldn't just say, oh, they would say they would drop the F-bomb. I can't talk today. It's ridiculous. Okay. Now let's get into the episode and we'll talk about it. So, this episode was so entertaining. It was so entertaining. It's unbelievable. Of course we had a major character death. Now, we start off the episode with Troy, which was, some scenes in the trailer we saw, and he, dug a grave for the guy who was getting his head pecked by crows, and it was really enjoyable. It was an enjoyable kind of first couple minutes of an episode. To catch up with Troy, I liked it. Now, getting into the rest of it, then we start getting some scenes at the ranch, about people saying, oh, Jake is weak and he's not fit to lead. Then, of course, at nighttime, Troy goes into Nick's house, and we see that, Troy is kind of like, he's like, there's a reckoning in hand, and it's bigger than you can imagine. It's a huge herd, and it's coming tomorrow. And that's one thing, is that it definitely, Nick was kind of like, well, what is it? What is it? And he locked him out of the house and everything. It was really creepy. So, of course, the next day, basically all that happens is that Nick is like, Jake, we need to go. I just saw Troy, and he said that there's something big coming. And of course, we see the scene with Jake and Alicia, and we see that he's just kind of like, yeah, was this the plan all along? For you to just seduce me, as Madison, and Nick take care of other things, And he's kind of like basically telling her, like he's asking her, he's like, was this all a big plan? Like was this some plan you had? Because worked pretty well, but still. So then we have a really, really exciting, couple sequences where they're out on the road. He says the F-bomb, and then he sees the herd. Now, the herd looked okay, in my opinion. The herd, it was all right. It was definitely not the best, but it looked really, really decent in a couple shots. But then in a couple other shots, I'm like, oh, no, you can tell that's CG. So now getting into the stuff where I got really hyped. This, of course, we get the huge scene where Troy, he's sitting on top of this sand little, place or whatever where it all happens. You see Jay come down, and Nick is kind of like, don't kill Troy. Jake's about to kill Troy, and then all of a sudden, Nick, kind of saves Troy and knocks Jake down, and then then you get the scenes where it just kind of comes out of nowhere. You think he's gonna shoot Troy, and realistically, I think Jake would have survived if he didn't. If he did pull the trigger, and Troy would be dead. But it's definitely interesting because then of course he gets bit, and then they chop off the hand immediately, and you see it too. It just they show it. I loved it. I love when they do. They're not. Fear the Walking Dead is more violent, I have to say, in season 3 than the season 7 of The Walking Dead, because they didn't tone down the violence, and they showed that. Realistically, in The Walking Dead, they probably, honestly, and this is actually a complaint where I agree more with Fear the Walking Dead. In The Walking Dead season 7, if let's say Daryl got his hand chopped off, if they had to remove it, it would just, they wouldn't even show it. They wouldn't even show it. And that's the one thing I liked about that scene. I was kind of shocked that they did show it, because I'm like, well, are they toning down the violence too? But, that's confirmed now that Fear the Walking Dead is probably more violent than The Walking Dead, at least this season, for sure. Now, definitely, when it comes to the scenes with Jake and him getting his, arm chopped off or whatever, it was really exciting. I didn't really see it happening, but I'm like, they're probably not going to keep him alive because of the CG and all that, and I kind of knew. Also, because when they were driving back, you see that, they're not going to get there in time. You can kind of tell, and then I love it because then Nick really steps it up. You see the scene where, Troy, is sitting there, and then Jake turns into a zombie after he dies. And I like it because, he's just like, Nick, I love it. He really steps up in this episode, He shows him. He's like, that's you. That's what you did. You put all of them walkers in there, and now they're all trapped, and they're fighting for their life. And then, Troy puts down zombie Jake. So, I'm very excited to see what happens with them. It's possible that they actually could save everybody there, which, definitely is a possibility as well. Definitely, I'm not saying it's not possible. So then you get the scenes with Alicia and all them, the RV rolling over, the herd getting there, them fighting, and then, the RV and all that. You get a couple deaths here, which are pretty big. I definitely the one with the arrow, that guy, the bald guy, I forget his name. That was a huge death right there as well. I really liked him though. I was kind of sad that he died. And then, I like it because Alicia's also kind of stepping up. Because Madison's not there, they're giving the chance to kind of let everybody shine in this episode. I like it. I like the mix-up, So then you get everybody who has to get underground, with the guns and all that, and that's kind of how they end it, which was just fast-paced episode, a really fast-paced episode of a TV show, and definitely really fast-paced for Fear. We only have this back quarter left for Fear the Walking Dead Season 3, and I'm really confused about how are they going to wrap it up and somehow make the season finale stand out more than this. I don't think they could do that, to be honest. I might be wrong once I see the season finale, but this feels like a season finale. And definitely the deaths and everything they did was huge. So this episode is really just really exciting. They dropped an F-bomb, you got the herd, you got the death of Jake, you got all these things that nobody predicted. This is a huge episode for the TV show of Fear the Walking Dead and one of my favorites. I loved it. So, not a 10 out of 10 because, there were still some issues here and there that I noticed, and, maybe they were dragging the story in the first half of the episode a little bit, because I gotta say the second half was really exciting, but there was some parts at the beginning of the episode, like after the intro, where I'm like, okay, let's go, Yeah, it was just a slow build-up, though, but I felt like they could have sped that up a little bit more, even though the pacing was already really fast. But what I mean, though, is that, like, after the intro, there were a couple dull scenes before the interesting stuff, but I still really loved this episode. So, okay. Now, we will wrap up our review. Make sure to write your comments below about this episode, guys. This was a solid episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and I will see you guys really soon.